Coming up, the Nationals make a late comeback and the Marlins ace shuts down the Rays. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us every weekday to go over all the action for you from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Nationals shocked the Rockies yesterday. They scored 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth to walk it off. Locked On Nationals has more after a huge comeback win.
Don't you dare give up on these Washington Nationals as C.J. Abrams comes back and gets the walk-off win in the ninth inning, coming back from a 4-1 deficit. Oh my God. Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals here. That is now back-to-back wins in which the Nationals came back, in which they seemed dead in the dust. But no. Last night's game, Joey Meneses comes in, hits that 3-run home run to take the lead in the 8th inning after multiple rain delays. And then in today's game, the young and the phenomenal, the amazing C.J. Abrams walks it off, gets the single, scores the run. The Nationals win 6-5 after quite literally being down once again in the 9th inning. Oh my God, this Nationals team. C.J. Abrams, have yourself a day. Nationals win the series against the Rockies.
Sandy Alcantara shut down the Rays on Wednesday. He threw all 9 innings, and he gave up just 1 run in the process to get a Marlins win. After the loss, the Locked On Rays host goes over what went wrong.
A horrible July continues for the Tampa Bay Rays. My name is Ulysses Zambrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. 5-15 this month. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Eflin only goes 4 innings against the Marlins. He got shellacked, apparently left because of a left knee contusion or discomfort, and they're awaiting MRI results. He actually didn't stay at the Trop for the post-game. He left immediately to get that MRI. Hopefully that's nothing to be concerned about, but obviously with Drew Rasmussen and Jeffrey Springs already lost for the season, you gotta keep your good vibes out there for Zach Eflin to not be hurt and to not be missing much more time. For this and much more about your Tampa Bay Rays, check us out on any podcast platform, especially on YouTube. Locked On Rays, Rays up.
The Red Sox have now won their 4th game in a row. They beat the Braves last night, and Boston sits just a game and a half out of that last wild card spot in the American League. Our Locked On Red Sox host has more with a recap.
What a win. Once Bayo gave up the 3-run home run, I was like, oof, this is tough and not looking good. And I said I was willing to take a split against the Braves because they are the best team in baseball right now. But the Red Sox went out there and came back and won the game, and it was electric. When Devers crushed that home run, I was like, all right, we're not dead yet. And then Casas hit his home run, and I just had a feeling the Red Sox were going to come back and win it. And Justin Turner just continues to hit. I mean, the guy's just been absolutely clutch for the Red Sox this year. As I called him on the show, Mr. Clutch, he continues to be bringing in those 2 runs to give the Red Sox the lead that they would never relinquish. So it was a super fun game, and I'm so happy the Red Sox took the series because that's a huge, huge sweep against the best team in baseball right now, and I'm so happy. Just keep that momentum going in San Francisco.
The Yankees' Carlos Rodon picked up the win, and the New York bullpen threw 3 scoreless innings to finish off the Mets last night. Locked On hosts for both of New York's teams recap things from the Bronx.
Carlos Rodon finally gets his first win in pinstripes. Literally, I'm Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees. He was wearing the home pinstripes. He finally gets the win. The Yankees win 3-1 over the Mets. The most important story of the game is Carlos Rodon. It's his first win as a Yankee. You know, he only came back a few starts ago. He's 1-3 on the season. He lasted 5 2/3 innings, gave up 1 run on 4 hits. He walked 3, struck out 4, and it looked like he didn't want to come out of the game. But he had a 25-pitch first inning that kind of pushed his pitch count up. So not a bad debut in Yankee Stadium, and he kind of needed it after that last start in Anaheim with the kiss being blown at the fans, so it was good to see him get a nice ovation when he walked off the mound at Yankee Stadium. And it's a split again for the Subway Series. They split in Citi Field, and now they've split in Yankee Stadium. So we'll have everything you need to know about this game on the next Locked On Yankees. And it's an off day for the Yankees and for Yankee fans, so enjoy it.
Well, there's nothing like a 9-3 victory against your also struggling New York rival to make you feel better about what's been an awful season. This is Ryan Finkelstein, host of Locked On Mets, and we saw a good game by the Mets on Tuesday night, led by Pete Alonso. 5 RBIs, 2 home runs. The Mets need Pete to get high if they're going to make anything of this season, and this was a very good start to that. Also, got a home run from Daniel Vogelbach, which was a sight for sore eyes. He has a couple lately. Don't know if he's going to get a little bit hot himself. And then Jeff McNeil quietly with a 3 RBI game. Also on the pitching front, Justin Verlander, excellent. 6 scoreless innings. Starting to look like that $43 million ace the Mets paid for this offseason. And, you know, nights like this, you have a little bit of hope. Now you zoom back and you think about where this team has been this year. Maybe not so much, but for a day, Mets fans can be happy, and I'll be talking about that. And if Pete Alonso can carry them on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Mets.
Coming up, the Brewers win their latest battle with the Reds. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets to concerts, shows, or games last minute should not be difficult. It shouldn't be expensive either. That's where Game Time has you covered. They have that Game Time guarantee. So if you find the same tickets in the same section and the same row for less somewhere else, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB. That will give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, you create the account and then redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. It's last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Jose Ramirez hit a pair of home runs, and the Guardians moved up to an even 500 on the season by beating the Royals. Locked On Guardians takes us through the victory.
Busy and eventful day Wednesday in Cleveland in terms of baseball. Guardians able to finish off a series win against the Kansas City Royals thanks to the offense 8-3. I'm Justin Laddick, host of Locked On Guardians. Guardians moved to 2 games back in the division thanks to Seattle being able to hold off the Twins for the second straight day. Guardians win their 3rd straight series in a row for the first time all year. They head into Chicago to face a beat-up White Sox team to hope to gain ground in the division, as the Twins will play host to the Kansas City Royals this weekend. And the bigger news, the Guardians moved on from Ahmed Rosario at shortstop. They traded him to the Los Angeles Dodgers on Wednesday. In return, they get right-hander Noah Syndergaard, currently on the injured list, former Ahmed Rosario teammate in New York. Very bizarre trade, but an active day. We'll see what that means for the Guardians on the trading deadline market in the next week and how they will fill shortstop in the rest of the season between their prospects and some other young players. Tune into Locked On Guardians all week to hear more.
The Brewers shut out the Reds, and they moved back up a game and a half on Cincinnati in the NL Central. Locked On Reds has more after a pitcher's duel that went scoreless into the 7th.
Whatever, man. I'm over it. I'm over the Brewers. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds are done playing the Milwaukee Brewers. Thank heaven. It's been a rough season against this one team. The Cincinnati Reds have a positive run differential and are 17 games over 500 against teams not named the Milwaukee Brewers. But because of their season series with the Brewers, they have a negative overall run differential. And they're not just destroying the NL Central right now. They were shut out, and they end up losing the series in Milwaukee. The Reds did get a hit off Joe Payamps, though. That was nice. Oh, well. Moving on. Got the Dodgers coming up. Let's move forward.
The Cardinals turned a close game into a blowout in the late innings against the Diamondbacks. Our Locked On hosts tell you what happened to let St. Louis pull away.
The D-back spiral continues after losing 11-7 in their series finale to the St. Louis Cardinals. Miller Thomas of Locked On Diamondbacks here. It's not been a pretty second half for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who were tied for first place entering the All-Star break, but post All-Star break, they are 3-9, and the pitching has been bad. Worst bullpen ERA in the second half of the season, and we saw it on full display. The starters haven't been any better. Zach Gallen, he gives up 5 earned runs over 6+ innings. The bullpen comes in, they give up 5 to 6 to 7 runs. I don't even know at this point. D-backs give up 11 runs total. The pitching's bad. The offense puts 7 runs on the board, but only 2 for 16 runners in scoring position. With the trade deadline just days away, all eyes are on Mike Hazen and the D-backs front office to make moves, because if this team from the All-Star break goes from first to out the postseason by the season's end, best believe D-backs fans are not going to be happy.
Coming up, the Phillies get a late win over the Orioles. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. After the first 2 games of the series went to extra innings, the Blue Jays got a pretty easy win against the Dodgers on Wednesday. That allowed them to take that 3-game set. Locked On Blue Jays tells us all of the details after the win.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. Toronto Blue Jays win on Wednesday afternoon to hopefully erase whatever the heck that debacle collapse was on Tuesday night, right? Blue Jays win the series against the LA Dodgers, finished the West Coast trip at 3-3. 2-hit Witt was in the house. One of those hits, a 3-run home run that took a 2-0 Blue Jay lead to 5-0, and the Jays would never look back. And Yusei Kikuchi was again very serviceable today. Gotten a lot of jams. Yusei bent, but he did not break. Blue Jays now 14-7 when Yusei Kikuchi has started so far this season. I mean, sensational production from your number 5 starter. Jay Jackson was again really good today. Now, may have gotten a little tired towards the end there. A lot of Blue Jays relievers are tired these days, right? But be sure to tune into the Locked On Blue Jay podcast on Friday as Jay Jackson is back on the show talking Blue Jays, plus talking about what it's like for MLB players around the trade deadline. Blue Jays are off tomorrow, but we have some Throwback Thursday, good, bad, and ugly of Blue Jay trade deadlines of the past.
3 solo home runs powered the Pirates past the Padres yesterday afternoon, pushing San Diego down to 5 games under 500 with the trade deadline approaching. Locked On Padres looks at the situation for San Diego.
They never let you down. They never let you down. As long as what you were expecting was disappointment, these San Diego Padres do not let you down. What's up, everybody? Javier Reyes here, Locked On Padres podcast. As per usual, got the facial hair coming in strong. Don't worry, getting a haircut soon. But let me tell you, the Padres are pretty bad, and this has been the same thing for the whole season. Not to take a victory lap, I said this after the Detroit series. Yes, they won that series. They won the series before. I don't care. They show no fight whatsoever. You lost 5 of 6 games against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not as terrible as they were like a couple of years ago. They're at least, they look a little bit more competent than usual, but still not a very good baseball team. And you lose the last game, only getting 4 hits. Not good overall. You have a chance at the end against David Bednar, maybe to show at least one time that this team could come up clutch, but it's just not happening. And I think that it is baseball malpractice for A.J. Preller to not be selling Blake Snell or Josh Hader if the rumors do hold true that they're going to be keeping them. I think it's malpractice. I think it's ridiculous. This team isn't going anywhere. They have no fight. They're like, 0-11 in extra innings? Not that today was extra innings, but still. The only thing worth watching them for is to see if them or the Mets will be more disappointing overall. It's like a sick, masochistic game that you have to play with yourself. It's hard to take any joy from this team. But actually, you can still root for Hassan Kim and Luis Campuzano. The Hive! We're still alive. But other than that, guys, stay not necessarily faithful for this team, but just stay faithful in general. All right? Have a good day. Have some ice cream. The summer stinks. Have something cold. Enjoy it. And until next time, stay tuned to the podcast where we're going to be talking more deadline stuff as usual. I'll see you there. Bye!
The Phillies won the finale of a great series with the Orioles after playing 2 one-run games against Baltimore the day before. As the 2 playoff contenders part ways, Locked On Phillies has more after the win.
The Philadelphia Phillies take down the Baltimore Orioles in the final game of their series. Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. We're going to do a little walk and talk for today's post-game, and solid win. Got behind early, fought back. Great game by a couple of people. Jake Cave, very well done out in left field. Edmundo Sosa, a big home run late to extend the lead. And man, did Ranger Suarez battle today. He didn't have his best stuff. that happens, but bottom line, he put together a good enough start to get the job done. The bullpen was great. The Phillies fought through. This is why they're called the Fighting Phils, right? Because nothing came easy in this series, and they battled through all the way. And when you're playing a good team like the Baltimore Orioles, you have to battle. That's one of the best teams in the American League, and you just took them down. Home series, whatever, doesn't matter. They're going to show up and show out every time, and the Phillies proved that they're ready for this. Now make the playoff push, make it happen. Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. We'll talk to you tomorrow with more.
The Cubs swept the White Sox on the South Side with a win Wednesday, and our Locked On hosts have more on the final from Chicago.
Here come the Cubs. Another win. 5 in a row, 7 out of 8. They were down 7-2 to the rival White Sox. After Marcus Stroman had another bad start, they came back to win the game 10-7. They sweep a mini 2-game series on the south side of Chicago. They find themselves only 4 back now, I believe, of the wild card. Still 6 back of the Brewers, who are playing really well, but the Cubs are hot. Ian Happ homered. Cody Bellinger continues to stay red hot. He homered. Big 2-run single by Christopher Morel. Big RBI walks in a rally by Mike Tauchman and Nico Horner, and a wonderful job by the bullpen. Javier Assad, Julian Merriweather, Mark Leiter Jr., and of course Adbert Alzolay shut it down. Cubs go back to Busch. 4-game series against the Cards. Can they stay hot?
The Giants won for the second straight night by taking advantage of 2 games against the rival, the Athletics. And our Locked On local experts have more about the sweep.
Giants shortstop prospect Marco Luciano made his long-anticipated Major League debut tonight, and the San Francisco Giants picked up a much-needed win, sweeping this little 2-game series from the Oakland A's. This is Ben Kaspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. Giants need to play well going into the trade deadline because they had lost 6 straight, and they were looking like they were potentially losing their position as definite buyers. And so turning it around, playing 2 games against the MLB worst A's was critical, and they did it. They swept this series, and there was more excitement with another young player in Marco Luciano making his Major League debut. The Giants have had a ton of young players debut this season: Patrick Bailey, Luis Matos, Casey Schmidt, and others. And Luciano may be the best of the bunch. I did not love that he was pinch hit for late in the game, only had 2 at-bats, but plenty of opportunities hopefully to come for him in the future, and he made some good plays at short in this game as well. So we'll break this one down on the next Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
That's it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. We thank you as always for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. It's the second half of the season. The trade deadline is looming. Make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.